Hi, Sharks. Happy Money Monday. I know it's a weird kind of time today. It's like a random hour. But as you know, if you were watching last week, um, I am currently traveling, visiting my family in Israel. There has been like so much happening, and I'm on a totally different time zone, like way different. So, the hours are a little bit different here, and I just decided, I still have to do my Money Monday, so I gotta come on. I didn't know what time I'd be available. I was just visiting with a very, very good friend of mine that I met when I was traveling many, many years ago. We met it back in 2006 when I was 19 and traveling through South America. And so I have like a long history of cheap, sustainable travel. And I want to share some tips and some secrets with you. Um, so, number one is I feel like travel is an integral part of getting a perspective on your life and making sure, that you see things in a different light and see things as they really are, not as your one city or your one town or your one country believes it to be. Um, I know that when I was 19 and I traveled, I backpacked through South America, and I got it changed the way that I viewed my life and just society in general. I got the perspective that I have now that experiences are um, much more worth it than material goods really was solidified during those travels, because what happened was is I visited these places and I spent time with locals, and I understood from them that you can be happy and be just joyous and have everything with very little. You do not actually need all of the things that capitalism and that modern society tells us that we do need. Now, also, when you're vacationing, you don't have to go the expensive route on every single thing that you do, especially if you want to make it a longer trip. My trip in South America was for 6 months. And during that time, I took a lot of public transport, and I found out about a lot of things through locals. The places that I went to eat at were the places that locals told me about. It wasn't necessarily the things that I was, you know, reading in magazines or anything like that. It was I counted on the experience and the knowledge of the people that live there. Now, just on this trip, right? I am in Israel, and I'm lucky to have family here who knows a lot. And there are so many resources, and there is such an amazing public transportation system here that I did rent a car for the first few days, and since then we have been carless. And we are getting around by buses and by trains. And if you are going to a place that has a great public transportation system, take advantage of it. Not only is it better for the environment and more sustainable than you renting a car, it is cheaper and you can do more. And um, here in Israel, so on Saturdays, the buses don't run. And that's like a little, these are things that for your individual country, you'll have to pick up the little quirks and when it does run and when it doesn't run. And I was thinking, oh my gosh, do I have to rent another car? Because we are going to be going to Jerusalem on Saturday. And and then I remembered I have family here and I can ask locals. And I actually found out that there is it's not a bus, but it's like a private transport that is still extremely cheap and can get me to Jerusalem. And I don't have to rent a car and I don't have to pay a taxi to drive me that entire distance. So there are ways to make sure that when you are traveling, you are doing it in a way that allow you to stay longer. And if you're watching my what this reminds me of a little bit is if you were watching my podcast a few weeks ago about world schooling, it's a lot of it is about relying on your fellow humans for information. And if you want to, so in the world schooling thought, you are taking long stretches in different countries. And in order to do that, um, people that don't have an endless amount of money, and I will admit, like, I do not, and most people do not. If you do not have an endless amount of money, it is tough to stay away long periods of time. So it is very important to kind of make sure that the money that you do have, the money that you're spending, is lasting. And also, for me, it was super important to be able to still continue to work while I'm away. And the way that I did that was I made sure that I had what I personally did was Airbnbs, and made sure that I did that in a place that I knew I was going to have a great Wi-Fi, and I made sure that I'm talking to you right now from a cell phone. And what I did was get an Israeli SIM card, and I have full access to, internet data, and I'm able to work on the move. And that is super important for me in my business. So I know that I have greater flexibility because I work for myself, right? And if you are working for a company, you might not necessarily have that ability. But if there is any type of remote aspect to what you do, you can still do trips like this and be able to work. And it's actually worked out really well for me here because of the huge time difference. I'm awake long before anyone else is. So I have the entire morning, you know, to do things and see things and spend time with my family before the day starts in the United States, and I can get all of my work done and then you know, continue on doing what I have to do here and traveling and seeing things. So I want you to think about the places that when you go to new places, or, think about talking to the locals, think about what kind of transportation system do they have. You don't always have to be on a resort. You don't always have to take cabs or rent a car. In fact, in a lot of places, it is better not to rent a car. Like specifically where I'm staying right now in Tel Aviv, there is absolutely no parking. Zero. Like, it is so difficult to find parking. It is not, it was just not something that I wanted to do. And also, you can, with the car, you have to worry about like someone denting it or getting into an accident if they're crazy drivers. When you're taking public transport, you don't have to worry about these things. And just getting to understand the local systems and speaking to the locals and finding out how they use it. It's really cool, actually, here in Israel. There's an app, and I can pay for my bus fares through the app and everything. And it tells me exactly how to get from point A to point B. And I'm like, we are able to get all around, no problem. So do a little research on the country that you're going to. See what kind of public transportation system they have, if it's easy to navigate, and try to see if you can speak to some locals when you get there and get the lowdown. Understand what they're using, how they're interacting with the resources of their community, and that way you can interact in the same way, because they are the best people to ask. They have the most information, and that is very important if you're going to try to stay for longer periods of time. And then make sure you also figure out a way for you to get things done, the things that you need done. Like, I was able, even though I have an Israeli SIM card, I was able to forward all of my calls here so that it's like a local call. Um, all of my text messages are coming through another app. Like, just it just takes a little bit of preparation, but you can really do this and you can really have the experiences that you want to have and see the things that you want to see the things that you want to see while still being responsible and taking care of the monetary issues and the things that you want to do. You just have to do a little bit of extra research and you can travel sustainably. Um, if you've got any questions or if you have any comments or anything else, you just want to say hello, please reach out to me. I am Financial Sharktress on everything. I'll go back to my normal schedule when I get back to the United States. But right now it's kind of on the fly. But I still wanted to come in and make sure that I tell you what's going on with me and give you a little tip every week. And if there's anything that you want to talk about, you want to hear about, you want me to talk about, um, just let me know. Comment, share, subscribe, make sure that I know what topics matter to you, and I will talk about them. Have a very happy Money Monday, and I will see you all on Wednesday for another podcast episode. Galit Speaks is the podcast. I am on Spotify and everywhere else that you listen to podcasts. And I'll have an awesome topic for you this week as well. So stay tuned for that, and I will see you soon. Have a good night, sharks. Bye bye.